Hello and welcome back to All Things Money. I'm your host, David Blain. During this segment, we're going to continue talking about one of the difficult people that a lot of one of the difficult questions, that people wrestle with, which is, should I pay my house off early or should I invest? And one of the things that we talked about is we advocate making a smart, financial, unemotional decision. That a lot of times the emotions, people just, I want to get my house paid off, I don't like the payment, which there's nothing wrong with making a decision like that, but what we want to do is give you the facts and to make a financial decision. And so you have a financial decision, what's the smartest thing to do, and then you have the emotional decision. I happen to think a good financial advisor, financial decisions are made without a lot of emotion involved. In fact, we mentioned in the first segment, people may say, oh, well, that's easy for you to say, don't pay the house off, leave it invested with you. And that's exactly right. That's why we're a fee-only advisor. If you're working with someone that gets paid by the product or a commission or something like that, we charge, for the money that we invest as well as a planning fee. So whether we tell you to pay your mortgage off or not pay your mortgage off, you're going to still pay us a planning fee. And that's why we think the way that we charge people is also superior way of doing it, because it frees us up from some of those conflicts and enables us to tell people what we think. And those of you that know me will know that I will always tell you exactly what I think the best course of action is, regardless of whether it's good for our firm or not. Our job as a fiduciary is to advise you on the best course of action for you, and we found that by charging a flat planning fee, we're able to do that. Anyway, I just wanted to address that. So getting back to the scenario, we looked at, taking a 15-year mortgage out at a lower interest rate versus a 30-year mortgage at a higher interest rate. We even assumed that on the 15-year mortgage, you're actually going to make more on your investments than the 30-year. So the way I set this up was, the 15-year mortgage, let's say your payment is $2,000 a month. So for 15 years, you're just paying that mortgage off, $2,000 a month. And for simplicity, let's say the 30-year mortgage, the payment is $1,500 a month, and you're going to take that extra $500 and you're going to invest it. So with the 15-year, you're just paying that mortgage off, and at the end of 15 years, you're going to invest the full $2,000 a year. We assume that someone was in the 32.5 federal and state bracket. Now, if you're not there, that's okay, but if you're making money, especially a lot of the clients in the larger cities that we work at, just to live a reasonable middle-class lifestyle. I was out in California last week and near Silicon Valley, and to live a middle-class, basic lifestyle, house in the suburbs, kids play soccer, the whole suburban thing. You need to make $150,000, $160,000 just to be middle class. So those people definitely get up there in the tax bracket. So anyway, when you look at these scenarios, at the end of the 30-year time frame, you had somebody paying down their mortgage and investing versus somebody just paying off their mortgage and then investing for 15 years. You see that the person that took the 30-year mortgage comes out way ahead. Now, why is that? Well, a couple reasons is we're assuming that you can make more on your investments than it costs to borrow. Now, the terms have certainly become compressed. Rates are not as high as they used to be, but it's a basic fundamental principle that their interest rates, the returns of a diversified portfolio should be higher than the interest rates. Otherwise, nobody would bother to take any risk. And so although all returns are sort of depressed today, you still should have the spread between debt instruments and a diversified portfolio that includes some sort of growth. Now, over a 30-year time span, it's not guaranteed, but a well-diversified portfolio should, more often than not, more likely than not, 95% chance is going to do much better than an interest rate you're paying on a 30-year fixed note. The other big factor is taxes. If you take, a 4% mortgage and you're getting, and you're in the 30, 40% tax bracket, that 4% mortgage is not costing you 4%. And so you have to look at this on an after-tax basis. So the combined effort of being able to invest some money for a longer period of time, that compounding of interest over 30 years, plus the tax savings that you receive, allow the person with the 30-year mortgage to come out way ahead. Now, as you lower the tax bracket, as you lower the differential between the mortgage rates, the difference shrinks. But you can create a spreadsheet, or like I said, call us, we'll help you figure these questions out. The point is, from a pure financial decision, there are a lot of scenarios where it makes sense not to try to pay the mortgage off early. Once again, we have the emotional component of debt, the emotional component of owning your house, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, when you're 70 years old and all you have is this house, we see this all the time. Unfortunately, we can't help a lot of those people. That's not our specialty, but we see a lot of older people and they own this house and they have Social Security, and that's it. And they can't really afford to upkeep the house anymore. So we like to see people have money, investments and things like that, a diversified portfolio, and not just one big paid off house. Well, anyway, that's bringing us to the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a difficult decision that people struggle with all the time, paying the house off early or investing, and we think that there's a smart way to look at it, and people will come to different decisions for their own situation. So for All Things Money, I'm your host, David Blain. I hope that you'll join us again next week.
The proceeding was a paid program. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of WNBU and Inner Banks Media.